All right, first of all, those in the studio are aware we have construction next door. I'm not sure if that will come through online or not, but my apologies if you hear the banging or the drilling. They are trying to be a little bit more conscientious about the time of our class, but they still have to do their work. So we'll just have to make do. So earlier this week, when we first started this practice, I wanted to talk about angels because we were building up for poses, both in blissful and in gentle. That kind of refers to that. In blissful, we were going into the fallen angel pose. And even though we didn't go into that arm balance for gentle, we focused on the principles that could lead us there. And then we worked on broken wing, which was a twist. So I looked up earlier this week with this theme about the angels, whether or not they happen to show up in Indian mythology. And even though I didn't get any references for that, it was saying that the people of the Hindu faith do believe in angels being guides, guardians, and messengers, just like we do here in the West. And when I was preparing for the practice yesterday, for today, when I was doing my planning, I woke up and I was thinking about what I was going to do, and I had this certain flow in mind, and it was for blissful, so we won't be doing that particular flow here, but it involved eagle arms and then stepping up and crossing the legs to form eagle. And I was like, okay, that's where we'll go physically, because I always plan blissful before gentle. And then I thought to myself, I'd really like to talk about the Phoenix, but I can't really talk about the Phoenix if it doesn't show up, I mean, I could, but I wanted it to relate somehow. And so when I got my notebook out and I started thinking about my lesson plan, I still wrote down Phoenix rising from the ashes. This is a theme that keeps kind of showing up in my life. And I even just had a picture portrayed of me being like a phoenix coming out of the ashes, because we all go through dark nights of the soul. We all go through an ego death. We all go through times where we're burned out. And the idea is to resurrect yourself. The idea is to regenerate. The idea is to look at these as opportunities to rebirth, to come into a state of renewal, which is what the Phoenix represents. So I was so excited, you guys. I Googled, does a Phoenix show up in Indian mythology? And guess what it said? Yes, as Garuda. So before I even researched it, I already knew I wanted to do a flow into eagle. And I was just like, I'd really just shut the book. And I looked at Rob across the table and I'm like, you cannot make this stuff up. I love how things just piece together and work together. So I want to share with you a little story, because phoenixes show up in Egyptian mythology, they show up in Greek mythology, and they show up as Garuda in Indian mythology. So I wanted to tell you just a little story about Garuda, since we're going to be working with eagle arms today. So Garuda was the son of a woman who had lost a bet, basically, to her brother. Her brother had 100 sons that were snakes. Yeah. So he and his sister had this like sibling rivalry going on. And there was another mythical creature that would fly through the sky. It sounds like a Pegasus, but they named it something else, a horse with wings. And the brother and the sister were debating on whether or not the horse had a white tail or a black tail. And they made a bet with each other. Whoever lost the bet was going to have to be of service to the 100 snakes, or to the 100 sons. So the woman bet, I bet it's a white tail, because it's a white horse. And the brother said, got a black tail. So he sent his sons, the snakes that were black, and he said, you have to latch on to the horse's tail so that when it flies, my sister will see it has a black tail. And that's what they did. They followed their order of their father. The mother sees it and she's like, you wanted that. I have to be of service to your sons now. So she was having to be of service to these snakes, these sons, on top of having Garuda, her own son. And Garuda was half bird, half man. I think he might have been a third of something else even. And he was having to also be of service to the snakes. And when he had the realization, the only reason he and his mother were having to serve these snakes so much was because she lost a bet. He was like, no, this isn't right. I got to free you up from this. So he goes to the snakes. He was like, what can I do to break this? And they said, the only thing you can do to make us break this is to bring us back the Elixir of Life. And they're the construction.
We'll do whatever you want.
Like save the jackhammer for later.
Okay.
I'm like.
He said the time snuck up, sorry to break the story, but I couldn't continue and fight over that noise. Where was I? Oh, they said, you gotta go get the Elixir of Life, because we want to be immortal. Now, this Elixir of Life, this immortal drink, was only for the gods and the goddesses. But Garuda took it as his mission to break him and his mother free. So the story goes, he went on all these different adventures. He went all over the world. He finally finds this elixir called Asvrita, and he takes it, and he's not even tempted to take a sip of it. Not even tempted. And so he's carrying it back, going through all these adventures, back to find the snakes. And Indra, the Lord of the skies, sees what Garuda has done. And so he flies in and he's like, wait, what are you doing? This is for the gods and the goddesses. And so Garuda pleads to him and tells him the story and says, I'm really trying to free me and my mother from this basically enslavement to these snakes. And he said, okay. He was like, let's work together on this. Garuda said, I'll take it to the snakes. I'll tell them they have to go through a purification ritual before they take this divine nectar. And as they're going through this ritual, you come in and you take it. And they'll know that I brought it to them and they'll still free my mom. And that's exactly what happened. He took the elixir to them. He told them they needed to go through the purification ceremony because this was a divine substance. And as soon as they freed him and his mother and they went to go through their ritual, Indra swoops in, takes the elixir, and he decides to gift Garuda with the immortal drink. So Garuda is the immortal mythical bird or phoenix in the story. So we're going to start, and I know child's pose isn't great for everyone's knees. If this works out for you, then take child's pose. And if you need to be more in a prone position, you can do crocodile, being on the belly and still having your face down. So take one of those positions, whatever's going to work for you today. So we're going to begin in a pose that has us really close to the ground, as if we were like the phoenix that has burned itself into ashes.
but it's immortal. And it's ready to rise. It's ready to resurface. It's ready to reclaim its life, its pursuit. So begin breathing more effectively in and out through your nose. Allowing the inhalations to be an invitation to go within. Allowing the exhalations as an opportunity for letting something go. The centering and the breath work we do at the very start of our practice is like that ritual of purifying ourselves as we come to this sacred ground or sacred place. The sacred place being the studio, the sacred ground being our mat, in order for us to perform the spiritual practice. And then as we continue to move the body and continue to practice a state of mindfulness, we will continue that purification process. They say yoga and meditation is anti-aging. No, it doesn't make us necessarily immortal. It doesn't necessarily take all of our wrinkles away, but it helps us to still maintain our vitality, our vigor, our zest for life. We're going to move through a very mild, more modified version of a sun salutation. So to do this, I want you to begin to inhale, slowly come up to a standing Vajrasana. Standing Vajrasana, where your thighs are parallel, your knees are going to line up underneath your hips, and your shins are going to be parallel and the feet separated. Bring your hands to prayer position at the heart. This is like the standing version of a sun sal, but from this modified position. As we inhale, the arms are going to circle wide up overhead. As we exhale our forward fold, the palms turn down. It's like we're coming into Uttanasana, but instead it's child's pose with the arms extended. Inhale, rock up to tabletop, which is a modification for plank. Exhale, rock forward, lower down to a half chaturanga and sink down to the belly. Slide your palms together and forward, lower down to your brow. A pose of prostration, a pose of deep reverence. Now slide your hands and lodge them underneath your shoulders. I would like you to lift one leg at a time, lengthening your thigh bones. Lift each leg individually and lengthen out through the shin bones. And now lift each leg individually and reach out through the foot and the toes. Keep the action there. Shoulders roll back and come to a low baby cobra. With the low baby cobra, squeeze the buttocks. Stay on your abdomen. Find a comfortable position for your neck. And take deep breaths in and out through your nose. Notice you should be lifting on the inhale, slightly sinking and dropping on the exhale. Now clip your elbows closer into your elbow, or your elbows closer into your side ribs, and press into the floor. See if you can lift to a higher Bhujangasana. Rock the hips back to stack over your knees. And as you slide your hands forward, bow your head into puppy, a modification for downward facing dog. Your belly is drawn in towards your spine. And then start to slide your hands back, lift your head up, reach the arms up overhead. This is like Urdhva Hastasana, and then exhale, hands to prayer position. We're gonna do this modified sun sound one more time. Inhale, come down. Exhale, turn your palms forward and fold over, child's. Inhale, rock up like you're coming to plank, but it's table. Exhale, lower towards the floor. Slide your hands out, come into that pose of prostration. We're not staying in the ashes, we're ready to rise. So slide your hands back. Zip up through your legs, point your toes back. Baby Bhujangasana. Affirming here, I rise joyfully to greet each and every new opportunity. I got a call yesterday. The Recovery Ranch is wanting some contract work for yoga teachers. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I got real excited about it until I checked the maps and discovered it's an hour and 7 minutes from my house. I was like, I'll pass. It was still fun to dream of the idea. Inhale, slowly come up. Rock the hips back, stack them over your thighs. Hands slide out, head bows between the upper arms. So there's no sagging in the low back or belly here. It's all shrink wrapped, just like you would be in downward facing dog. And then slide the hands back. Inhale, lift the arms overhead. Exhale, bring the hands to prayer. All right, inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, turn to face the front. Exhale, rotate left. 2 more. To each side. Synchronize the movement with the breath. Exhale, bring the hands back to heart center. You're going to lean to one side, doesn't matter which, to step 1 foot through, coming up the geisha way, standing, and then walking towards the top of the mat. When you come to stand at the top of the mat, really root your feet down, line up your legs, activate the muscles, lift through your navel, heart and crown, palms together. Inhale, reach the arms to the sides and up overhead. Exhale, hands together and bow halfway down. When you bow halfway down, shoulders roll back away from your ears, creating more of a 90-degree angle with your body. From here, gently slide your hands down your shins, possibly down towards the feet. Folding over to Uttanasana. So when you're holding your Uttanasana, I want you to notice how we primarily sense our hamstrings. But if you're really rooting the feet down, it should equally activate the calves. And we're going to be doing a different calf stretch today once we get through this active flow. For now, just pour down. Affirming here, nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back. I choose to rise up from the ashes. Feel free to use your blocks to stand your hands on, because we're going to step the right foot back. We're going to land down that back heel. And we're going to come up to Virabhadrasana 1. Now, even though we're not doing the same flow that I had in my mindset for blissful, we're at least going to practice eagle arms here. So from warrior 1, just really condition and cement your back foot down. Keep the front knee lunging. Keep that back hip turning to face the front. And then we're gonna circle the right arm, loop it underneath the left. Maybe the hands can even come together. Don't force it. Just see if that's possible. And holding Garuda arms, you're gonna gently hinge over. Again, keep that back foot heavy. Now apply more pressure into the front foot and it'll bring more ease in your trunk as you rise back up. Good, release your arms, separate the arms nice and wide, hinge over the front thigh, set the hands down, spin away from the back heel. Separate the blocks away from the ground, step into downward facing dog. From taking downward facing dog, you're rooting your hands and feet to sail as high through your seat as possible. Remember that as we are inverted, the eyes should be open, so that we can see things from a broader perspective. What some people refer to as the bird's eye view. When you're ready, walk the feet forward towards the top of the mat. Folding over to your Uttanasana, again, noticing where you feel this pose. Now, some of us feel it in our backs. You may not be as aware of the hamstrings, but that's typically what we experience here. Inhale, come halfway up. Take a hold of the blocks, bring them in if you want to use them to step the left foot back. Ground the back heel, bring the arms up. Warrior one. Good, solidify the back foot, square the hips. Gaze straight ahead, chin parallel to the floor, and then we'll loop the left arm under the right. Intertwining, molding the two as if one. And then hinge. Pressurize the front foot to bring some ease into your lift. Arms. Separate them nice and wide, hinge back over. Really work into your back calf muscles here. That's one of our emphasis today is our calf muscles. And then release the hands down. Spin away from the back heel. Block, step away. One more downward facing dog. Gaining that new perspective. So even though we gaze at one spot, even notice what you can see in your peripheral vision. And then inhale, travel the feet forward. Bend the knees. Bring the hands to prayer. Now we're going to go for full eagle. So if you need a perch, you can bring a block to the outside of your left foot. I'm going to use the perch today. Just because it's gentle and I feel like it. We're going to step the right foot over. You can stay stacked on the toes or the block. And there's, more advanced variations if you prefer that. So concentrate your eyes and fixate on that one point. Firm at the center of life storms, I choose to be serene. Slowly come up, separate the right foot. And if you want to use that perch today, block to the outside of the right. Hands to prayer, sit back in. Step the left foot over. Squeeze the inner thighs and knees. Garuda. Slowly. Come on. We're gonna open the palms with the right hand on top. Loop the thumbs. Bring the hands over the center of the chest. Different than the angel wings we sometimes create. This is the mudra for Garuda. Garuda that represents the phoenix. So I want you to pause, close your eyes, reflect and consider a time where maybe you went through the dark night of the soul. Maybe you went through an egoic death. Maybe you were burnt out. And how you survived. And how you rose from the challenge. So that phoenix lives within. It is our inner fire. Relax. All right, we're gonna stand the blocks. This is gonna be our last active stretch. Now, you have options here to fold up your blanket. I'm just gonna give you a couple examples. You know, maybe fold it up like this, long ways. You also have the option, you know, to fold it if you want it a little thicker this way. I don't care which you do. But we're gonna start off having the blanket folded. And we're going to stand the heels on top of it. And walk the heels back enough. So like the arch of the foot is also on the blanket. So the padding of the foot above the arch and below the toes, that's where the feet are sat. All right, now we're gonna take our hands into that little indention here. And I want you to bend your knees. And just slowly bring your hands to the blocks. And then eventually start to straighten out your legs. And it may be that you don't even need the blocks, or maybe the blocks need to lower. You can test the waters here. But we're working more into the calf muscles. And you still feel your hamstrings. Let your head go. Basically what we're doing here is we're taking the blanket, creating a perch under the feet, and we're going to do it two different ways. And you may have done an exercise before where you're at the edge of stairs on the balls of the feet, and then the heels are hanging off the step, and you're lifting and descending through your ankles. That's kind of the idea here. Couple more breaths. Now, if your hands are low enough and you feel secure enough to move that blanket away from the heels, you can lower the heels to the floor and then come up. The blanket is safe to stay there if you want to come up with it. So either way is fine. Right, that was the easier one. Now we're gonna do the harder one. We're gonna bring this blanket back in. Now it's in front of us. And now we're gonna bring the balls of the feet onto, this is like where we're at the edge of the steps, and then we're sinking the heels lower than the step. That's what we're basically mimicking here. Hands to that little indention or groove, bend the knees, safely come forward. Maybe you need blocks for this one. And it's very easy to put all the weight in the heels, right? So shift your weight forward towards your blanket blocks. Continue to fold over, lifting upward through your sits bones to get a deeper calf stretch. Now on the stairs, we usually pump the heels up and down. You can see here, we can hold, Sustain it. Now, gently, if your hands can safely move that blanket away. Use your blocks under your hands to elevate your heels, to start to dip down towards the toe balance. And hopefully this lines you up in a way where you can safely come back down to the floor. And we are ready to restore. So let's put that bolster behind our backs. Grab your blocks, we're going to use those too. The feet are going to slide together, the knees are going to be open. The blocks will stack up underneath. You want a blanket for a pillow or to cover your body. Hopefully that's handy. Still down. Restorative positions. It's better to have the eyes shut. I'm still going to turn off the overhead light. Give your body permission to rest. As you take rest, consider for a moment the parent and child relationship. How we as parents try to do so much for our children, provide so much for our children. Condition them in a way where they're good people. Where we want to take their pain away and we want to see them happy. But one thing that I just realized today about a few of these mythological stories is the role reversal. And this really is a reflection of life, because at some point, the child then needs to take care of the parent. The child may want to rescue the parent from their heartache. And they want the parent to be happy and free. Maintaining a level of independence. And moksha, this idea of freedom and liberation, is the whole goal of yoga. So I want you to take the time now to free yourself up from any burden, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and move towards a state of mindfulness that will drop you into a state of being. So in mindfulness, we focus on just one thing in the present moment. Maybe it's just listening. Maybe it's visualizing in your mind's eye a sacred symbol. Perhaps it's observance of the breath.
or talking each individual body part into a state of relaxation. So use this time wisely as you recline, relax. Your next inhalation, take a big breath in. Releasing that breath away, drawing the knees together. Once you fold the knees together, roll to one side of your body. We'll do one more pose to restore. Once you come up, you're going to have your bolsters set in front of you. And just one block underneath it. So we're going to do a combo pose where it's not as elevated as the slide, but we still have some elevation. And then we're going to wrap the blanket. Now, if you need the blanket under your head, of course, use it that way. But if you want to wrap it around the legs, that will keep them held together. It creates a grounding feel. And then you can discern whether or not you need your hands on or off the body. The hands being placed on top of you can also be grounding, if that's what you need. I want you to picture in your mind's eye before we drift away. I want you to picture maybe your own visual of a phoenix burning and then rising from the ashes. Or maybe you've seen it portrayed in some sort of theatrical way. Like, my mind goes to Harry Potter. And there was a phoenix in that movie. And during one of those sequels, the phoenix dies and then it's reborn. It's not just about the fire of transformation. It's not just rebirthing, renewal. It's not just immortality. It's about hope. It's about faith. Picture the vibrant colors that a phoenix usually portrays. The bright reds, the oranges, the gold, be similar to what's depicted fire. brought a little bit of this story to life today. I want to end with a position that ties back in with Indra, who is also a part of the story. Indra being the lord of the skies, and the lightning bolt being his weapon. So if your legs are swaddled by a blanket, go ahead and remove the blanket. We're going to keep the left leg on top of the bolster. The right knee is going to pull in towards the right shoulder, long enough for you to take your hand hold of the right hand to the right foot. So it's kind of like half happy baby. So a true lightning bolt pose would be doing this more actively. The left leg would be hovering above the mat, about the elevation that it is now. But we would be scooping in the belly and lifting the head off the floor. We're going to keep this simple today, especially since we're coming out of Shavasana. Go ahead and take your right leg back over the props. Bring your left knee towards you, angle it towards the shoulder. Take your left hand, find the foot. The sole of the foot's facing the sky. And this will be our very gentle variation of lightning bolt pose today. Now remove your grip from the foot, draw both knees in. Cradle them with your arms. Be here for a couple breaths. And roll over to one side. Slowly out. Let's bring the right hand over the left, attaching the thumbs, coming back to Garuda Mudra. Since Garuda is our phoenix. But I also want you to remind yourself that you are also the phoenix. It's just like the old saying goes, if you fall down 7 times, get up 8. And we all walk away from this practice being free and at peace from anything out of our control, anything imposed upon us by another, or any internal conflict of our own. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Today.